Welcome to Data and AI Conversations with Surya. That's me. Here we dive into real stories, insights, and career journeys. So let's get started. Hi, Ceri. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Surya.
So let me first introduce you to our listeners. So you run your own consultancy called Thistle Labs. You are a fractional CTO and a tech mentor. You're also one of the founders of an Edinburgh-based meetup group for women in tech. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
So for those of us who don't know, what is meant by a fractional CTO? What does that entail?
Basically, it means I'm a part-time CTO, and I do it for a number of different startups at once. So the idea is that early stage startups probably don't need a CTO full-time. They just need a little bit of my time. So this way I get to work across lots of different startups, see what they're all up to, get loads of great learnings that I can take between them, and really just, it's just something I really enjoy doing. So.
Oh, that's really good. And you can help each of them. It doesn't matter what stage of the startup they're at, isn't it?
Yeah, I work with everything from very early stage startups through to ones that are starting to scale. It's different challenges across different companies, but I really like that. I like the variety.
That's great. So, and you have your own startup as well, isn't it?
Yes, myself and a co-founder, we have a startup where we're looking at the tech behind made-to-measure, made-to-order clothing, and seeing if we really want to be able to do this at scale. So we're exploring that at the moment, trying to develop a prototype.
Oh, that's lovely. So how do you distribute the time? Like, do you do your fractional CTO for half the week or is there some sort of...
Yeah, so I tend to do about 3.5 days of what I call client work. So that's the fractional CTO stuff,
Mhm.
and then about a day on my own side, and then a day on half a day on general business admin. So do need to be quite organised to fit it all in, but it generally works out. And sometimes, sometimes there's a bit more client work week to week or a bit less, and you just have to be flexible.
Nice. So how did you how did you start with creating the meetup group? Is it been a little while or is it something new?
Oh no, it's been going for quite a while now. I think probably 8 years or something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah, so I started back when I was working for Free Agent, and we had a new VP of engineering come in, who's called Maria Gutierrez, and we were just discussing the lack of women-focused meetup groups, and doing something that we really wanted to do, talking about things we really wanted to talk about. There were a lot of, at the time around Edinburgh, there were a lot of sort of tech specific ones, like a JavaScript meetup and a Ruby meetup, but we didn't really have one that was more general. So we decided that we would create one, and Maria brought in her friend Lee as well, and we set it up, and we wanted to be part of a bigger group so that we didn't have to do everything ourselves. And Maria
Mhm.
had experience with the Women Who Code organisation, so that was where we started. Although the Women Who Code organisation has since dissolved, so we're now part of Scotland Women in Tech.
Scotland Women in Tech. So is that like a monthly meetup or is it?
Honestly, organising a meetup is a heck of a lot more work than you think it is. Um,
Yeah, I know.
So we're trying to get one or two a quarter at the moment,
Okay.
particularly with running my own business and a startup. I've had to take a bit of a step back lately,
Mhm.
but we've got a few of us in the leadership role, so that means that we can, at any one point, if somebody's busy, the other people can take over for a bit. So yeah, we try and get one or two done every quarter.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that because the one we organize in Aberdeen, the data platform and cloud user group, there are 4 of us. So it means that if someone gets busy, you can at least, step back and somebody else will lead. And it's a lot easier organizing it that way. instead of having the whole pressure of, doing everything yourself, which is, and this way it's a bit more fun as well. We can interact with each other, throw out new
Yeah.
topics, things like that.
Yeah, and different people come with different perspectives. So,
Exactly.
my background is a bit more on the leadership side.
Mm.
Lee is a senior engineer, or principal engineer, so she's got a deep tech background. Yeah, but yeah, we've got a couple of people like Steph on the data side as well. So we get a good mix of like just different connections, and that gives us lots of different topics to talk about or different people to approach.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, Steph and you used to work together as well, isn't it, at some point?
Yes. Yeah, Steph and I worked together, and we were both at CodeClan, and I guess we got to know each other there, and I was talking about what I do, and I encouraged her to come along, and she wanted to get involved, and that's kind of how we do it. Like we just the people who are in the leadership team for it are just the people who want to get involved, are passionate about it, have got topics they want to share. So yeah, we gradually, build up the leadership team, and then people leave over time. We add some more, and just goes on like a gentle cycle like that.
Oh, that's good. And to be honest, that's how we met as well, isn't it? You were actually my line manager, Ceri, for a
Yes.
while, which is really lovely. I mean, it was nice to have someone who you could look up to at the same time as, you were just very approachable,
Oh,
pragmatic, and you were just, you know what I mean? I remember me thinking, oh, this is someone, I can keep in touch with my whole life. And that's what has happened. Even through the shared trauma of a company collapse, we have managed to stay in touch.
yeah, and I think that's important for me, and I really value the connection we have. I think particularly when you're out on your own,
Mhm.
or even just with and one other co-founder, it's really nice to just have a group of people outside of that you can
Mhm.
speak to, have a chat with, vent to occasionally when things aren't going the right way. um, so yeah, I value the friends and stuff I've built up along the way, because yeah, it gives me a whole little community, and I don't feel like
Yeah.
I'm on my own.
No, definitely. I think that's one of the things, because I'm part of the Data Lab community as well. I am one of the alums. I have kept in touch with that community as well, and I've created my own where I go. And I find that, I kind of thrive better when there is a group of people around,
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't discuss everything, but it's nice to share things and learn from each other. And like, okay, if I'm facing some sort of problems, there's a good chance somebody else has too. So it's good to just, get advice from various people before you decide what to do.
Yes, I think that's true, and it was. I guess that was a big part of the reason why we built up the Women Who Code and later Scotland Women in Tech meetup group, is that yeah, we wanted that community for women in Edinburgh, or in
Mhm.
more now that we've joined the Scotland Women Tech community for all of Scotland, and it's just to give people that connection with other folks where they can go, oh yeah, I'm experiencing that too, or oh, can you give me some advice on this? And also just to give people like role models and similar. It's like, oh yeah, there are
Definitely.
people doing what you want to do, or there are people who've
Mhm.
changed careers in the way that you want to change. It is possible, it is doable. So
Mhm. It all
yeah.
feels very powerful together. Starting to sound like a Disney movie now, but you know what I mean? It is, for me, it does work like that. And I think it works the same for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we have some recurring questions next. So obviously, me and you, we both had the same kind of career curveball with our, last company we worked together for. But was there any other instance where your career took an unexpected turn?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think that was by far the biggest one, because I'd never actually envisaged running my own company. It'd
Mhm.
never been an aspiration of mine. I always thought I'd be working with others. And I think that, you know, CodeClan going into liquidation, it kind of, it had such a mission and purpose, and I didn't want to go back to just being another like cog in the wheel at a bigger company. I really wanted that again. Um, and I think while I was waiting for that, or trying to figure out what I was going to do, lots of people came to me and said, "Hey, can you help?" So I got into helping them, and I was like, "Oh, actually, this is a thing you can do, and people will pay you for it." so
Yeah.
so I moved in that direction. I think up until then, I've followed a fairly traditional path. I started out as a developer, moved up to like a team lead, an engineering manager, running a few teams, and then a department, and then a CTO role. So it was fairly, I guess, a traditional path. But then, yeah, with the that, as you say, career curveball coming my way, I suddenly ended up doing something I never would have expected to do before. So,
Yeah, it does sort of all work out, isn't it? Even if it at that moment it doesn't seem, it's like, what has happened? It's horrifying, and you just like, but you do have
yeah,
to take a little bit of time to just process it as well.
yeah,
That
because I
kind of
know,
helped, and it
I,
was good that with our last company there is a group made on Slack. You know what I mean? Where we could chat to each other as well, and it's not
yeah,
like let's all panic together at this point.
yeah, and like I would never have, or I will never say that that was a good thing, and I absolutely wish that it hadn't gone
Mhm,
down that way, and that we've been able to keep it going. But that said, I don't regret where I am now. I am a
mhm,
big believer in things work out in the end eventually.
mhm.
Um, so maybe I'm not where I expected to be at this
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
but I'm still enjoying what I do, and
Mhm.
that's for me that's the biggest part. you know,
Yeah,
I
and to
want,
be honest, like it's becoming more and more difficult to predict a path now, isn't it? You don't know what jobs are going to look like in a few years. Everything has a habit of changing quite drastically in a few years, and you're like, oh, okay, is that something that you don't think of, but it's a job now? So,
yeah, absolutely. I always say like I think if I'd been like starting my career now, I would have been looking at data science and
mhm.
and probably picking a degree in data science, but that wasn't a thing like back when
When you
you know
started, yeah.
when I started like so I did engineering,
Mhm,
but yeah, I do wonder, if I started again now, would I be doing a more sort of data role? And I
mhm.
think the answer is quite probably that's what really interests me. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think you can predict. I think we do have to stay, flexible in our
mhm.
jobs and keep learning so that when
Yeah, keep
when these
learning.
opportunities come up, you're ready to take them.
And that's the thing, like, you're still learning as well, isn't it? Are you not doing a
Yes,
degree as well along with everything else?
yes. So um, I love learning, and because I was like, oh well, actually, I would have done data science
Mhm,
probably
mhm,
back then. I decided that well, let's do that. And with the Open University, you can very easily do learning alongside a career. So I've been 6 years now on an Open University degree in data science. So I have actually 5 years, and I've got one more year to go. It's 6 in total. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying learning all about, the AI side of things.
mhm.
At the moment, I'm doing sort of more predictive modeling and things like that. And I
Nice.
think it's giving me like a theoretical, more of the theory background for a lot of what I have kind of been doing as part of my job anyway.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and it'll help with your the company that you're creating as well, isn't it?
mhm. Yes, I mean, everything nowadays really needs to be data driven.
It all needs to pull together, which
It
is good
does.
in one way for people who work with data because it's getting more and more common for everybody to think about it, which is always a good thing.
Yeah,
And
I
yeah.
do think they're increasingly like um, it's becoming one of those skills that everybody needs a bit of. Like
Mhm,
whether you're in, marketing or sales or software, I think being able to understand, at least the basics around
mhm,
data and, you know, read a graph and understand what it's telling you, understand a bit about, the
mhm.
probabilities and likelihood of things happening. I think that's just getting more and more important. We all sort of follow metrics and stuff in our roles, and just being able to treat that a little bit more rigorously, is I think it's important to, being able to do your job better.
Yeah, and the data literacy courses that I run, they are getting popular as well because again, people want to know more. Of course, now it's AI literacy as well
Hmm.
because it's not just about data because LLMs have become so popular. Like people want to know more and more about it.
Yes.
Which is a good thing to see again. So I'm quite glad about that. So the next question I have is data hot takes. So is there any surprising opinion about data that you have heard?
Oh, I think the one that comes up time and time again, it's more related to AI, but it's the expectation that AI will be right 100% of the time, or it's possible to get it 100% right.
Mhm,
Um, so when I'm talking to a lot of startups who want to incorporate AI into their product idea, this is something that I go over quite a lot. Is like, well, you have to be able to incorporate that
mhm,
failure into there, or that expectation of failure, and how are you going to do that? Now we can get very, very accurate in some like very specific areas, but in other things, you've got to plan for it being wrong, and the expecting to be able to get it right 100% of the time is not plausible. um, but that's a big difference from when you're working with code, where you can get the right, it will be
mhm,
right all the time because you're just following a logical path, whereas
mhm.
the AI is using a lot more sort of inference and
Yeah.
probability, and it's never going to be perfect. So yeah, that's when I'm doing mentoring. It's one of the things I cover quite a lot, with
Mhm.
people, explaining to them how AI works and why it's not going to be
Yeah.
perfect.
And I think you have to like consider all the guardrails around it as well in case things don't work as planned. That has to be kind of, well, the time for it has to be incorporated in your project.
Yeah, I usually recommend that people start with a sort of what we call like human in the loop, where you
Mhm,
are when you're getting AI to generate your answers or whatever, that you make sure that you check over what it's saying, um, and then over time you can get more and more confident that okay, it's really good in these particular areas, but if
mhm,
somebody asks about this area, then it's not very good. And that's obviously for the more sort of chatbot type use cases, which is what I'm seeing a
mhm.
lot of at the moment, because that's the easy thing for people to incorporate. Um, I think it's a little bit more different when you're trying to train your own models and similar, and you need to look at, you know, um, yeah, how do you check that what it's doing is right? How do you give yourself confidence that it's doing the right thing? So,
Yeah, it's all about the trust in the system as well, isn't it? It's a big
yeah.
keyword. So next we have insider intel. So what's the one essential tip? Now this can be technical or non-technical that every data and AI professional should know.
Oh, now you put me on the spot. um, I think what I would say is it's about the story that you're telling with the data. So it's not enough to just present facts and figures to people. You have to be able to explain it in a way that people understand and tell the story of what that data is telling you, and bring it to life for people. Because, you know, we like data a lot. We like what the numbers show us, we like the graphs and charts, but a lot of other people don't, or they're not so comfortable with it. So they won't immediately take away the same information that you will from a presentation from another data professional. So I think it's really important to be able to, as well as present the data, also explain it to folks in
Mhm,
a way that makes sense to the business. So
mhm.
explain the business impact, explain why this is interesting, explain the story behind it. So this happens, so that meant this, and really bring that to life for people.
Yeah,
And
and if you take this path, this is what we expect will happen. And if you don't take this path, we might end up down there.
yeah,
Make it very clear what the
yeah,
data is telling you.
yes, and just bring to life the, okay, we're reasonably confident that this is the case, but we've got a lot more uncertainty around this. And just explaining that kind of thing. People will get it if you talk about it. And explain what's happening, but they might not necessarily take that away from just a report.
That's true. So how do you balance it out? All the work that you do, how do you manage the work-life balance? Is there any hobbies that help you recharge?
Or I'm a big one for cross stitch at the moment. I love my crafts. Like, this is what I do, like completely away from a computer screen. So I'm cross stitch is something I'm really doing at the moment. I'm doing a cat cross stitch. I have a cat, so I like
You're doing a cat. Wait, does that mean that this cross stitch has to be the same colors of your cat?
It is actually
It actually
coincidentally.
is. You just take a photo and decide this is what is going to be.
Yeah. But I don't just do cross stitch. I've also got some macrame kits. I do a bit of pottery and similar. Anything that's sort of crafty, making with my hands, but not in front of a computer screen. I think that's what I do to recharge. Because in the end, I do have it is quite a balancing act working with multiple clients at once. So I can feel, some days you do come home feeling very overwhelmed by it all, or feeling guilty that you haven't managed to get to some bits yet. So I try to keep it really strict, and like as soon as I work in the day from a co-working space. So that's my office and that's my work hours. And then when I get home, I try to completely switch off and, away from my screen, away from my phone, and do something fun.
That's a good approach, actually, isn't it? And you get this little actual physical separation from your work and your home life. And creating something is always fun.
Yes, I'm a very, I like my creating things.
I actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not create was it suit trousers or something? Did you not literally stitch?
Yep.
Yeah, you did.
Yep.
I was like, well, I'm sure she did, but let me just check.
Yep, I did some making of my own clothes. I made a couple of pairs of trousers and a couple of blouses. This is where my sort of the idea came for. Well, actually, wasn't my idea. My co-founder had the idea for our little startup, but the reason why I was so excited to join her and we had such a good match was because I'd also made my own clothes, because I couldn't find what I wanted in the shops. So yeah, I'm actually sitting here today wearing trousers I made myself and repaired myself. So
awesome. So would you like to tell us a bit more about the startup, or is that under the wraps at the moment?
No, I think we can share a little bit about it. So it's called TC Stitcher, for Tanya and Ceri. Tanya's my co-founder, and we want to enable people to shop for clothes that are exactly the style and fit that they want. So instead of having to keep up with the trends and be like, oh, this is what's fashionable at the moment, but that doesn't look good on me and I don't enjoy it, being able to basically go to a site and say, right, I want a pair of trousers that are high-waisted and short-legged and straight-legged, and then you can pick exactly what you want, and then you say, oh, I want them in this color, and then they just get fitted to you exactly, and they're exactly what they want. You can see how it looks on you, and then it goes away to get made and returned to you in a couple of weeks. Now, obviously, we've not got all of that going yet. We've got just the beginnings of that with the technology that makes it happen. And we're setting up a website. Initially, we're going to be going with people who make their own clothes and just allowing them to adjust their existing patterns. And then once we've got that out, we'll start building up the side where the clothes actually get made for you as well.
Oh, that'll be actually good. It'll be really good for me, because when you're saying high-waisted and short, petite length, excuse me, yes, I have to run around in a lot of shops to look for things that actually fit me.
Yeah, and it's fascinating with the research that we did, like the customer research. You'd think with the way the fashion companies are, and there's all these seasons and trends and now micro trends, that's what people want. But actually, from our research, it isn't what people want. They know, certainly
What
people our
suits
age,
you? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you know what looks good on you.
Mm.
And you want to just keep buying that again and again. You find a good pair of trousers or a good top, and you're like, I want that. And when it wears out, I want to buy another one. But yeah, that's often not possible nowadays
Yeah.
because by the time you wear it however many times, it wears out. You get a hole in the trousers, and it's out of you know prison. I don't know what the word is. It's no longer made, so you can't get exactly the same thing, and then you're hunting around all over again trying to find.
Find the next best match. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I can totally agree with that. I mean, I like updating the trends, like just on top of the regular things. But yeah, the basics are still the basics for me. So it'll be nice to know that, there's somewhere you can go and get those done as well.
yeah, and that's exactly what we're targeting. Like the basics. Your work
Mm.
trousers, your work tops.
Yeah, yeah. Then you can style it up with whatever else.
Yeah.
Give it to me. It kind of reminds me, like when I was young, I used to read a lot of Archie comics.
Mm,
I don't know if you know about them, but Archie, Veronica, and Betty, they are the main characters. And Veronica comes from a really rich family. So she just walks into a shop and says, I'll have this top in all the colors.
yeah.
And at times I feel like, why can't you just do that? The top that fits and looks good. Can I just
Yep.
not get them in all the colors? That'll be nice.
Yep. And that's exactly what we want to be able to people to do.
There you go. No, Archie Comics. That's what you need for your marketing strategy.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah. And just that idea that, you don't have to buy 20 all at once. You can come
Yeah,
back.
exactly. Yeah, I don't need to buy 20 all the time. But sometimes you feel like you have to because it won't be in stock for the next year or whatever. And then you're like, okay, I need them in whatever colors they have right now so that I can, like,
Yeah.
yeah, swap out the basics whenever I need to.
Yeah, and that's what we want to make it so that, you can just keep coming back, even if it's 5-10 years later, and you can still get that same top. You've already purchased the pattern, you just get it made in a different color or the same color
Mm.
again or whatever you want. So yeah, that's the beauty of what we want to do. So
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. So next is the very important question, which you now know is coming because it's been asked in a few of the episodes. So what would you prefer, sweet or savory?
definitely, well, ah,
Come on, Kerry, I'm counting on you.
well, I have a sweet tooth. I do have a sweet tooth, but I also like the savoury as well. But I think if I had a push, it would have to be sweet.
Thank you. Thank you for being the first one to say they would prefer something sweet. And I was like counting on you for that because I know that when we used to meet up, you need gluten-free stuff, but still you will go for the cake, which is gluten-free. So I was
Yep.
like, yes, I know one person will answer, sweet for this.
Yeah, I do love my cakes. It's definitely a bit of a weak spot for me is a good
But
cake.
then you also walk a lot. So that's, yeah, especially when you're in Edinburgh, you have to walk a lot. So I feel it all balances out.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Cool.
days when I end up with cake and chocolate, then I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Might need
yeah,
to
it
do
all
some more
works out.
exercise.
Yeah. So do you have anything coming up in terms of events or projects or anything exciting that you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I'm speaking at a couple of events coming up. So on the 17th of April, I'll be speaking at the Plus Equals 5 conference at Napier University.
Mhm.
And I'll be talking about uh, sort of why teams aren't performing well. And we often, particularly with technical teams, we often assume it's technical skills that are holding teams back, or we give them lots of training on technical skills. Whereas actually, it's often communication that is a really big sort of stumbling block for teams. But we don't actually train people in communication. Like we don't train our technical teams in communication, but we expect them to be, to learn it themselves
Mhm.
organically, but that actually isn't what's happening. And this came about because a lot of the work that I do, whilst I might be brought in for nominally a technical reason, often the underlying causes are all about communication issues and similar. So yeah, it's come from a lot of the work that I've been doing with clients over the last 18 months, and it's a topic that's particularly close to my own heart. I really like to see teams succeed and do really well, and it's like, well, there's some of these skills that you just need, like communication, and that we need to help people with. We can't just shove people together and expect it to work magically.
Yeah, well, which unfortunately happens quite a lot, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And the other thing is, even if companies do offer training, it's often sort of very generic training, and not necessarily tailored to the specific needs of technical teams, particularly where it might be lots of neurodiverse individuals, where you might need to vary your communication style quite a lot, or where there's particular challenges in the use of lots of very technical language that is great within a team where everybody understands you, but you need to then adapt that as you go outside of a team. But we often don't even tell people that's what they need to do. Like, if you don't tell people, they don't know to do that, and then therefore they're not going to succeed in the jobs. So
yeah,
yes.
it's always hard if it's like a guesswork on what you actually have to achieve. Though I do notice that some companies do, like, okay, in the first 3 to 6 months, these are the targets, sort of, that we are expecting you to. And if you ever get stuck in achieving those, come back to us and we'll see what we can do, which is a much better way of approaching it than like, oh, great, you made it through the interview and get on with whatever. And then there's a lot of question marks, like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll do this and that, but am I actually meeting any of the things? Because for me personally, I like adding value to whatever I'm doing. And sometimes, the excess side of value, and they're like, I like to deliver more than I'm asked, simply because it's a personality, sometimes a problem, but a personality trait. And for me, I find it very confusing if people don't tell me what they actually want to achieve overall, rather than working in this little cog of, okay, I'm doing the task you're telling me to, but am I adding value?
Yeah.
Yeah. So feedback. Yes, you need a bit of feedback.
Yes, yeah, and feedback is, being able to give and receive feedback is a really, key communication skill. But again, it's not something that we tend to train people on. So, is it any wonder that we get managers and peers who are rubbish at giving feedback? I mean, I know I have been in the past. So yeah, this is where I'm coming from, and I think that important onboarding period is really, communication is really vital. And if you don't onboard somebody well, they're never going to work well as part of the team. They're never going to understand how they fit, and that you just sort of almost handicapping them for the whole job, like for
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
career there. And if you don't do a good job onboarding, you're much more likely to leave a company in a short period of time. So yes, there's a whole host of things that all come into being able to communicate well, share expectations, give feedback. And I think it's a fascinating area of research.
Oh,
And
definitely. I mean, this is going to be a really fantastic talk. We'll add it to the not comments, the description of the channel, so that people can find it as well. And we'll also add the women's meetup group that you're part of as well.
yep.
And thank you, Ceri. This has been really fascinating conversation. It's always good to see you, and I'm very glad that you were able to make it for this.
No, thank you very much for having me on. It's been a really fun time. Thank you.
And that's a wrap. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to follow for more and share it with others. See you at the next one. Till then, keep connecting and keep learning.